From there, you go to the next card, which is the Valor card. So whenever you have a big fight, which is the Strife card, and a big victory, which is the next card, you're going to get exhausted. So when you look at this card, this is an exhaustion card. So the way Lady Frida Harris designed this card was that it's supposed to be a green stick being thrown into a fire. If you throw a green stick into a fire, what happens? It's smoky and it sputters and pops. So it looks like lots of little pops around it, and the card went dark. So it took the indigo color of the victory card and it made it kind of a smokier, dark color. So in a battle, there are often moments where it's just better to fight another day. So it's better to stop, regroup, and fight another day than to keep going. So when somebody gets the Valor card, it means they know they need to fight, they know there's a battle ahead, but they're just so exhausted that they need a moment to regroup. And so it's smarter to take a break, a calculated break, than to keep pushing when you've got the symbol of Mars at the top, which is the planet of war, with Leo at the bottom. You've got the planet of war kind of battling the generous spirit of Leo. So when Leo wants to be in charge, it wants to be in control, but now we've got this kind of like, oh, do I have to do it again? So whenever I see this card, I always think my energy is at a last gasp. There's obstacles and difficulties. I have the courage to meet them because Leo is there, but I'm just so exhausted. Like sometimes you just want a break. You just want one little break to regroup. Now, then you go to the next card, which is the Eight of Wands, which is swiftness. And when you have a chance to regroup and calm down and eat and rest, oftentimes instead of fighting, you want to communicate. You want to have a discussion. So after big battles, there's oftentimes this thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to come to your tent, you're going to come to my tent, we're going to meet in the center of the battlefield, we're going to have a little chat about this, okay? So this card is the communications card. It represents computers, networking systems, contracts, signing of contracts, negotiation, diplomacy, trying to come to some sort of a resolution. So when you look at this card, it's a beautiful card. It's got a rainbow, which means that there's a dawning of a new awareness. You've got pyramids that have lightning bolts coming out from them, which means messages are going out in lots of different directions. You've got the god Mercury at the top in alignment with Sagittarius. So you've got this Mercury, the god of communication, trying to work within mutable fire. So it's like, okay, how can we work together? Now in tarot, it's really difficult sometimes when people ask questions such as, well, what career should I have, right? Because there aren't a lot of career cards, but the cards will oftentimes tell you qualities of a job, with the exception of this one. This one is definitely computer systems. So systems, computer systems, technology, being a programmer, being a developer, being an HTML code person, doing websites. It's oftentimes related to computer systems, systems analysis, something related to technology in some way. Now again, that could be phone systems, that could be jet propulsion engines, it could be anything, but this is a technological, scientific kind of job. And there's very few of these, but this happens to be a good one, especially in this day and age. I love it when this card shows up. So then from there, when you get that networking and negotiation and communication going on, we go to the Strength card. And the Strength card is the 9. And so now what you've got is you've got the Sun at the top and the Moon at the bottom in alignment with Sagittarius. So you've got the power and energy and vitality of the Sun, and you've got the emotional depth and sensitivity of the Moon in alignment with Sagittarius, which is mutable fire. So you can imagine if you get the power of the Sun, the power of the Moon in a place of mutable fire, you get a lot of strength there. I mean, that would make a lot of sense. What I love about this card is the arrows have moons on them, so the arrows are blunted. They're not pointed, which means that when you're really, really strong, you don't need to hurt anybody. You don't need to kill anybody. You might need to go ping, 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 but you're not really trying to hurt anybody. So true strength doesn't really have to prove it, okay? So this card is blue, which is about truth, which means if you have great strength, you have great truth on the inside. And you've got the red arrows, which means you've got the strength and the vitality and the physical energy and life force to move forward, which is important. The fire is contained behind the arrows, but nothing's trying to hurt anything now. So you've got a contained fire. I always like to think of this when there's fires in the wild and they say the fire is 90% contained. That's what this card is. The fire is 90% contained. You can control the fire. You're really close to being able to control the fire. And then you go to the last card in the wands and the flow of fire and the flow of energy. And the wands and the 10 of wands is the oppression card. So notice now you've got the dorjes from the 2 of wands, which is dominion. Now blocking once again the fire that was happening beforehand. And now this card has gone orange, which is again about life force, but it has this feeling of being blocked and aggravated, and the card is oppression. So this card now says fire in a destructive aspect. Cruelty, malice, selfishness, lying, repression, slander, ill will. So there's a lot of intensity here. And you've got the symbol of Saturn, the planet of hard work and struggle, in opposition to Sagittarius, mutable fire. So now all of a sudden everything gets a lot harder again, and things start being difficult, and there's some real challenges. So it's the nature of fire to burst forth, be contained, burst forth, be contained, burst forth, be contained. But this particular card says now it's being oppressed again. And it's just the nature of fire. Fire's going to expand, fire's going to need to be contained. Fire's going to expand, fire's going to need to be contained. So an easy example again is right now that we're dealing with everything in our government. So one of the fires that's trying to be ignited is green energy. So this is a fire, you know, global green energy, saving the planet, saving the polar bears, getting the CO2s out so that the polar bears can have ice and all this kind of thing. So there's this fire that's burning right now, but you can feel there's an oppression also, like there's a resistance from the powers that be, the dorjes, to doing it because it's incredibly expensive. So whenever there's even a great idea, it's the nature of great energies to be oppressed. So what I love about the Tarot is simply that it tells you that even if you've got great energy and you've got a perfect thing going, there are going to be forces that will constantly oppress you, stop you, but oftentimes there's an idea whose time has come, and eventually it'll work its way through. And then what happens is we start over again. So then you go back to the ace and everything completely starts over again. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. So the oppression card, it's correct to say cruelty, malice, or ill will if you don't have it.
Yeah, and so, you know, somebody's really oppressing you or restricting you or trying to not let you move, and it could be yourself too. I mean, many times I'm oppressing myself, I'm not letting myself move because of some sort of belief system I'm having. Okay. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. All right. So, when you're dealing with the minor arcana, I want you to think of it as the major arcana is a meal that you've chosen to have, say Mexican food, Chinese food. But the minor arcana are the specific things that you've chosen within that meal. So the major arcana says, okay, I'm going to have Mexican food, and then we're doing a spread, and I've got the Ace of Wands, and so the fire is going to be the soup, the type of soup that I've chosen because it's warm. The cups are kind of the cool, crisp lettuces of the salad, the type of salad you're going to have. The swords represent the wines that kind of mix with the meal, or the drinks that you choose with the meal. And then the discs represent the main course that you're kind of choosing. So I want you to think of them in this kind of loose framework in your mind, because it's like, okay, I'm having this meal, this person's reading is a particular meal. What's the flavor of this meal? What are they choosing in that meal? And does it work together? Okay. Now, the Ace of Cups All aces, again, represent times of the year, and so cups represent water. So the Ace of Cups represent when the fruits are full of water. So when the fruits are full of water is in the summer. So this card represents summer. And so if you find this, if somebody's asking a question for timing and this card shows up, it's going to happen somewhere in the summer. So if you look at this card, you've got a chalice sitting on a lotus. Above the chalice is actually a conch shell. I remember when I first looked at it, I thought of it as a spider's web. But when I did the research on Lady Frida Harris, her specific agenda was that this was a conch shell. So think again, water, so you can hear. So there's this new emotion, this new energy that's moving, and there's a new flow. There's this new emotion that's rising up, and you're trying to listen to it with the conch shell. And then notice the cup is overflowing, and so this is like the Holy Grail with the cup overflowing. And remember the Hierophant had the staff with the 3 circles. Notice that we've got the little 3 circles on the blue part of the cup. So see those 3 circles interlocking right there. So remember I told you that that was the feminine symbol. It's one of the oldest feminine symbols. So it represents the Virgin, the Mother, and the Crone. But in the Christianity, they turned it to the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost. So we've got this 3 symbols here, which is feminine. Okay, and all cups are feminine by nature. So this is a beautiful flow. So this is a new flow of love, a new flow of energy, something new and exciting emotionally that's showing up in your life. I love this card. It's always positive, it's productive, it's happy, it's joyous. You've got the blue for truth of the throat chakra, you've got the white for the crown chakra, and you've got the red for passion and life force energy. So from there, you go to the 2 of Cups. And the 2 of Cups is the love card. And so this card is just a beautiful, beautiful card. So remember when I told you that the Lover's card was like infatuation? This particular card is real love. So if I was to pick a card and like, how's my love life doing, and I pick this one, this is definitely the good one. This is the one you want, is the love card. So there's a balance between the masculine and the feminine. The 2 fish are in alignment, so there's true love happening. The cups are overflowing. The pink lotus is just overflowing with love and light. So there's this blue of truth, there's this yellow of emotional depth, and there's this green of heart chakra. And yet there's this orange fish, which is about the passion, also moving. And so in one corner you see the sign of Venus, and in the other corner you see the sign of Cancer. So Cancer is the first water sign, so the next 2 cards after this one are going to also have Cancer in them. So you've got Venus, the goddess of love, in alignment with Cancer, which is the sign of home and hearth and family and babies. So you can imagine we've got love, home and hearth, and family and babies. We're doing pretty good. Things are going good. So this is love and a balanced manifestation. There's gain and success. There's triumph after strife. So this is really a beautiful card. Then you go to the next card, which is the abundance card, which is the 3 card. So when things are filling up, so when you feel love, which is the ace, and then you deeply, deeply commit to love, which is the 2, the next thing is that sometimes things can get a little excessive. So when fruits are at their ripest, what happens next?
They rot. They rot.
Right. So right here we've got abundance, which means we have pomegranate cups that are sweet and full and red and juicy. But with this card comes a warning, because the seeds of decay are in the fruits of pleasure. So enjoy the abundance, but whenever you get abundance, there's going to be a downturn. So when we're dealing with economies, we have these huge surges in the real estate industry, and then what happens? Downturns. This is the nature of emotion. It's the nature of the feminine. You have fruits ripe, and then they rot, and we go into the winter, and then they ripen again, and then they rot. This is the nature of things. And so the mistake that a lot of people make is they think the good times are always going to roll, but that is not the nature of the physical plane. It's not the nature of emotions. There is a flow to it.